The morning sun rises over the sanctuary, casting golden light across the trees. Birds chatter, monkeys squabble, but inside one enclosure there is only silence. On a flat stone, the female gorilla Leia sits motionless. Her massive frame is hunched, her dark eyes distant. She clutches a tattered old blanket to her chest, rocking ever so slightly. Months ago, Leia lost her infant to illness. Since then, she has changed. Where she once played, climbed, and foraged with her troop, now she lingers, alone. Keepers whisper about her grief, watching helplessly as her spirit seems to fade. She hasn't joined the others all week, one says quietly, standing at the observation window. Another nods, voice low. She just sits there, like she's waiting for something that won't come. The other gorillas forage nearby, but Leia ignores them. She presses the blanket to her face as though smelling a memory. Her body trembles with a low, mournful rumble. It's the sound of a mother without a child. Then, out of nowhere, a different sound breaks the stillness, a high-pitched whimper. The keepers stiffen, exchanging startled looks. That wasn't a gorilla. The noise comes again, thin, frightened, desperate. One worker rushes outside, scanning the perimeter of the enclosure, and there, slipping through a gap in the outer fence, is the source. A tiny, scruffy puppy. His fur is matted, soaked from the damp grass. His ribs show through his small frame, his tail tucked tight between his legs. The pup stumbles forward, whining pitifully, clearly lost and weak. Gasps erupt among the staff. "Oh, no, yeah, he's going inside," one cries. But before they can react, the puppy squeezes through the last gap and wanders into Leia's territory. The sanctuary falls silent. Every keeper holds their breath, horror etched on their faces. A fragile puppy in the path of a 300-pound gorilla? This could end in seconds. Inside, Leia's ears twitch. She lifts her head for the first time that morning, dark eyes narrowing. She rises slowly from the stone, the blanket slipping from her arms. The puppy freezes, his tiny body quivering as she towers over him. The keepers can hardly watch. "She'll crush him," someone whispers. "She'll think he's prey." But the puppy takes one shaky step forward, his whimper cutting through the heavy air. He looks up at the gorilla, terrified, vulnerable, and something changes in Leia's eyes. She doesn't charge. She doesn't roar. Instead, she lowers herself to the ground, sinking onto her knuckles, bringing her massive frame closer to the earth. Her breath rumbles through the air as she studies him with a gaze not of anger, but curiosity. The puppy trembles, tail still tucked. Leia tilts her head, as though searching for meaning in the tiny creature before her. For the first time in months, she sets aside the blanket. And every keeper watching knows something extraordinary is about to happen. The sanctuary staff crowd the observation deck, their faces pale, their hands gripping the rail. Inside the enclosure, Leia crouches low, her massive body tense but calm. Just a few feet away, the scruffy puppy quivers in the wet grass, ears pressed flat, tiny whimpers spilling into the morning air. "Don't move," a keeper whispers, as if speaking too loudly might shatter the fragile stillness. Leia's nostrils flare. Her dark eyes remain fixed on the trembling figure before her. She leans forward slightly, sniffing the air. A soft grunt vibrates from her chest, not the booming roar the staff had braced for, but a sound gentler, questioning. The puppy blinks up at her, tail twitching weakly. He doesn't run. Perhaps he's too weak to flee, or perhaps, instinctively, he knows this towering figure isn't a threat. He takes one uncertain step toward her. Gasps ripple through the keepers. One squeezes his colleague's arm. This is it. This is the moment. Leia shifts her weight, her massive hand pressing into the mud. Then, slowly, so impossibly slowly, she stretches out one arm. Her fingers, thick and powerful, hover just inches above the puppy's tiny frame. Everyone watching holds their breath. And then the unthinkable happens. Instead of swiping, instead of pushing him away, Leia curls her massive hand gently around the puppy's small body. With a delicacy that seems impossible for such strength, she lifts him. The puppy squeaks, legs kicking briefly before going still. Leia brings him closer to her chest, cradling him against her broad torso. A stunned silence falls over the sanctuary. Tears well in the eyes of one of the keepers. She's holding him. The puppy squirms for a moment, then nestles into the thick fur of her chest, letting out a small sigh as though he has finally found warmth. Leia lowers her head, pressing her lips softly against his fur. A sound escapes her throat, not a growl, not a threat, but a deep, resonant hum. The same hum she once made when rocking her infant to sleep. She thinks he's hers, another keeper whispers, voice cracking. Leia sits back on her haunches, both arms curled protectively around the tiny pup. She rocks him gently, her eyes softening into an expression no one has seen since before her tragedy. The grief that had weighed on her like chains seems to ease, replaced by something familiar, something healing. The puppy licks her chest with a tentative tongue. Leia rumbles low, a soothing vibration that echoes through the enclosure. The staff can hardly believe it. This wasn't aggression. This wasn't indifference. This was something else entirely. Love. One of the keepers exhales shakily. The child she lost and the child she just found. The sanctuary, once heavy with the shadow of Leia's mourning, now buzzes with stunned awe. What began as a potential disaster has transformed into the unlikeliest of miracles. A gorilla without a child, a puppy without a mother. And in one fragile moment, they have found each other. The sanctuary is no longer silent. It is filled with gasps, muffled cries, and the sound of cameras clicking furiously. But inside the enclosure, none of that matters. For Leia, there is only the tiny life nestled in her arms. She rocks back and forth on her haunches, humming low and deep, the same mournful sound she once made for her lost infant. Only now it carries a new tone, soft, protective, healing. The scruffy puppy, pressed into the thick fur of her chest, lets out a contented whimper and closes his eyes. "Look at her," one keeper whispers through the glass, voice trembling. "She's treating him like her baby." And she is. Leia strokes the puppy's back with her enormous fingers, careful and deliberate, as if each touch might break him. She curls her body around him, shielding him from the cool morning air. When the pup shifts, squeaking faintly, Leia brings him closer, resting her lips against his fur in a kiss-like gesture. The other gorillas glance toward her from across the enclosure, chattering with curiosity. A few edge closer, sniffing at the strange bundle in her arms. But Leia's expression changes in an instant. She rises to her full height, chest puffed, eyes blazing with warning. A booming grunt rips from her throat, and the others retreat quickly. The message is unmistakable. This is hers. "She's protecting him," a keeper breathes, like she would have protected her own child. Minutes stretch into hours. Leia refuses to set the puppy down. When fruit is brought to her, she eats one-handed, the other arm wrapped firmly around her new companion. When the puppy stirs, tiny jaws opening in a yawn, Leia nudges pieces of fruit toward him. He doesn't understand, but the gesture is unmistakably maternal, sharing her meal, offering nourishment. The keepers are spellbound. Cameras record every moment, but their eyes remain glued to the scene, as if they're witnessing something sacred. By afternoon, word has spread beyond the sanctuary. Phones buzz with notifications. Social media floods with a single clip. Leia cradling the puppy, her lips brushing his fur. Within hours, millions have seen it. Headlines explode across the internet. Heartbroken gorilla adopts orphaned puppy. Love knows no species. From grief to hope, Leia's story. Meanwhile, Leia remains unaware of the world's gaze. All she knows is the small, fragile heartbeat pressed against her chest. She hums again, softer now, eyes half closed as she rocks him gently. The sanctuary staff exchange glances heavy with awe. They had mourned with her when she lost her infant, helpless to ease her pain. They had watched her fade into solitude, clutching only old blankets. And now they see her alive again. "She's a mother once more," Dr. Samuel Grant whispers. His eyes glisten as he leans closer to the glass. "And that little puppy, he's saved her as much as she's saving him." The puppy stirs again, nestling deeper into Leia's embrace. She cradles him tighter, a rumbling sigh vibrating from her chest. The sanctuary has witnessed many extraordinary things, but nothing like this. A gorilla, broken by loss, reborn through love. And a puppy, once abandoned, now adopted by the most unlikely mother. The first days of Leia's adoption are filled with tenderness. She cradles the puppy against her chest when she sleeps, carries him carefully on her back when she moves, and hums her low, soothing rumble whenever he whimpers. The keepers, though stunned, begin to relax. They see her grief softening, her spirit brightening. The bond is undeniable, but not everyone in the enclosure understands. On the third day, as Leia settles beneath a tree with the puppy curled in her arms, another silverback approaches. His name is Moyo, a dominant male, curious by nature, and not known for his patience. His heavy footfalls send vibrations through the ground as he strides closer. His nostrils flare as he sniffs at the strange little bundle pressed against Leia's chest. From the observation deck, the keepers tense instantly. "He's going toward her," one whispers. "If he tries to grab the pup—" Inside, Leia's entire posture changes. Her eyes narrow, her lips pull back slightly, revealing teeth. She shifts the puppy higher against her chest, her massive body curling protectively around him. Moyo takes another step closer, and then Leia erupts. She rises to her full towering height, chest pounding like a drum, her arms spread wide. A thunderous roar rips through the air, echoing off the concrete walls. The sound is primal, ferocious, enough to make even the keepers flinch. Moyo halts, startled, his curiosity replaced with caution. He chuffs once in defiance, but doesn't advance further. The puppy squeals from the sudden noise, his tiny body trembling. Leia immediately lowers herself again, pressing him into her chest, rocking him as her rumble softens from fury to comfort. She nuzzles his fur, lips brushing his head, her every movement whispering the same vow: "You're safe. I'll protect you." Onlookers are speechless. One keeper wipes a tear, whispering, "She defended him like he's her own." Another adds, voice breaking, "No one dares challenge her now. She made her choice." Moyo eventually retreats, grunting his displeasure, but he doesn't look back. The message is clear: this small, fragile creature belongs to Leia. For hours after, she remains alert, her gaze sweeping the enclosure whenever another gorilla ventures too near. Yet every time the puppy shifts nervously, she soothes him with gentle strokes of her massive hand. The protective instinct burns stronger than ever. By evening, the puppy has stopped trembling. He curls into a ball, nose tucked against Leia's chest, and falls into the deepest sleep he's known since he wandered into the sanctuary. Leia lowers her head over him, her breath ruffling his fur, her body a living fortress around him. The keepers stand in awe. They had seen maternal instinct in gorillas before, but this was something more. This wasn't just protection. This was devotion. "She's not just guarding him," Dr. Samuel Grant murmurs. "She's claiming him as family. And from that day forward, no gorilla, not even Moyo, dares approach the puppy again. Because Leia has made it clear to all, he is hers." Weeks pass, and the bond between Leia and the tiny puppy only grows stronger. What began as shock has now become routine. The gorilla and her adopted child are inseparable. At feeding times, Leia offers pieces of fruit, holding them patiently until the puppy sniffs and licks. She shares her water bowl, watching as the little one laps noisily. When he tires from play, she scoops him into her arms, rocking gently until his eyes flutter shut. Her rumble fills the enclosure like a lullaby, soothing him into the kind of sleep only safety brings. The other gorillas no longer challenge her. Moyo keeps his distance, and the troop accepts the unusual pairing. To them, it's no longer strange. Leia has a child again, and her status as mother is respected. For the staff, however, the wonder never fades. Each day they watch, filming as the puppy clambers over Leia's broad shoulders, tugging at her fur playfully, while she tolerates him with patient calm. She never pushes him away. She never lets him out of sight. One keeper whispers as they watch through the glass, "It's like watching her come back to life." Another nods. "She's smiling again. I didn't think I'd ever see that after her loss." Outside the sanctuary, the world is watching too. The first videos had gone viral within hours. Now millions follow the story daily. News anchors share clips of the unlikely pair, the gorilla cradling the puppy as he naps, the puppy licking her chin, the two walking side by side at sunset. Social media captions overflow. A mother's love knows no boundaries. From grief to hope, Leia and her pup. The family nobody expected. Messages pour into the sanctuary from across the globe. Parents tell their children the story before bed. Teachers show the footage in classrooms, lessons in empathy and compassion. Donations arrive in record numbers, all in honor of a gorilla and a stray pup who proved love can bloom in the unlikeliest of places. One afternoon, during a special public viewing, the staff allow a small group of children to watch Leia up close. The kids press against the glass, wide-eyed, as the gorilla settles into the grass with the puppy curled in her lap. She strokes him gently, humming softly, while the pup's tiny tail wags in sleep. A little girl whispers to her mother, "She's his mommy now." And the mother nods, tears brimming in her eyes. Inside the enclosure, Leia looks up briefly, her gaze steady, almost regal. For months she had grieved, broken by the weight of her loss. But now, with the puppy tucked into her arms, she is whole again. Her eyes hold a light that had vanished since her infant's death, a light rekindled by the smallest, most fragile life. That night, as the sanctuary closes and the visitors leave, Leia settles onto her stone bed. The puppy curls against her chest, sighing softly in sleep. Leia's great arms fold around him like a fortress. She lowers her head, brushing her lips against his fur in one final hum before her eyes close. The cameras may fade, the headlines may pass, but here, in the quiet of the sanctuary, one truth remains. Love found them both, and in each other they found family. Some stories remind us of something simple, something we often forget. Family isn't only about blood, it's about love. Leia had lost everything, her child, her joy, her reason to play, and a stray puppy had no one, shivering, fragile, forgotten. But when their paths crossed, grief gave way to hope. A gorilla became a mother again, and a puppy, once orphaned, found a protector stronger than any wall. Together, they proved the truth the world so desperately needs. Love knows no boundaries, not of species, not of size, not of circumstance. If this story melted your heart, if you believe love has the power to heal in the most unexpected ways, please like, share, and subscribe for more true stories of courage, compassion, and connection. Tell us in the comments, what surprised you most about Leia and her pup? And do you believe animals can love as deeply as we do? Because sometimes the greatest families are the ones we never see coming.